What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Early Edge and your Divisional Round NFL Mega Preview, powered as always by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all of sports betting, and it's not even close. Now, the reason we do the show on Tuesdays is to try to beat the number, to break down the games before we get to the critical days of Thursday and Friday. 4 big games this week, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, culminating with the Bills and the Chiefs, 6:30 Eastern time at Arrowhead Stadium. Is there any better way to spend a Sunday night? Now, let's bring in the stars of the show. And you know, I bring in my heavy hitters every single week. Maestro, a little bit under the weather today, but you know I got my goats. First and foremost, live from Nashville, Tennessee, the penthouse level. M Squared, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Coach. RJ, good to see you. Once again, my favorite show of the week. Love breaking these games down early. Get to see, really, for me, it's fun just because I get to see if I'm really, truly right or wrong in the market throughout the rest of the week, right? When we grab this early number. So really fun for me. It's a nice little test. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Ed in the chat says, it's a little quiet in here, so there's only one thing to say. Coach loves unders. Ed, but I respect it. I respect it. Now, this man, I tell you every single week, if you're not following RJ White on Twitter, then you're just not doing yourself a service. A savage, and no referee is safe. RJ, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. You know they have the Nickelodeon MVP, the MVP that they vote on, and it gets rigged, so they give it to the losing quarterback because everybody floods it. I wish they allowed write-in votes because you know we get a referee voted MVP for one of these games, and they'd have to discontinue the award altogether.
Oh, my God. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? By the way, speaking of that Nickelodeon game, if people haven't seen the interview that Debo did with the kid after the game, take the time. Go back and watch it. That, to me, is what sports is supposed to be all about. And that little kid, he's going to take Jay Smooth's job when he gets older. I can guarantee you that. All right, now, let's get into our games this week. Now, 2 games on Saturday, gentlemen, and we're going to start at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Bengals and the Titans. Now, Tennessee coming off a bye week. They're laying 3.5. The total is 46.5. We have no official play in this game other than, Mikey, let me come to you because you like them as part of a teaser. Talk to me.
I do. I like them as part of a teaser. It's going to have to be a teaser for some of you. It's a parlay for me, just looking at the numbers that you can grab. So I'm playing the Cincinnati side here at 11 in my alternate spread parlay. Okay. If you're only able to tease it, you can get it to 9.5. That is fine. I do like 11 better in this spot. I make Tennessee -4 in the game. I'm not going to tease with them and tease through 0 on this spot. So I'm going to tease on the Bengals side, get them up to 11 in an alternate spread where I'm pairing them with the Green Bay Packers money line. You can find this -108 to -119. Very similar thought process, but getting +11 in Packers money line is going to be better than taking Packers +0.5 and 9.5 on the Bengals. It's very similar, but for the same price, you might as well get the 11 on the Cincinnati side. So I'm expecting the game to be still relatively competitive. I give Titans the edge with the home field. Obviously, likely to have some form or some version of Derrick Henry back for this game. I expect them to come out sharp. I think that out of all the teams out there, we talk about teams maybe coming out slow off of bye weeks and things like that. I think this was a team that just desperately needed a bye week, and I think it was going to be really good for them. So I think Vrabel will have them ready to play. I don't expect too much of a hangover there for them. Again, I make the number -4. It's -3.5 in the market currently. I know a lot of people will be interested in jumping on Cincinnati just because of the success that they've had, how good Burrow has looked at times. Mm-hmm. Can't really fault them for it because, again, I'm on that side in the parlay or teaser, but I'm not comfortable playing it at the 3.5. So give me +11 or +9.5 in a teaser if you have to.
For those people at home that might be a little bit confused at what Mikey just said, a normal parlay payout can be 2.5, 3 to 1, and this would be down closer to below 1.5. That's why the alternate line brings that number down, but it's a much better number. That just kind of maybe clears up a little bit for those of you who are brand new to the show. We like to be very creative at times to get a better number. So, RJ, let me come to you. Based off of what Mikey just said, the natural better would look at Cincinnati, look at how they're playing, look at how they beat the Raiders, good defense, Joe Burrow not making any mistakes, and they would say that is the side. How do you see it?
And I'm waiting for you guys to push this number down to 3 so I could take Tennessee. I don't have a pick in this game because I want to be on Tennessee. Since he had several defensive injuries against Vegas while Tennessee's had the week off to get healthier, Henry's obviously the big name there. But, Trey Hendrickson got hurt in that game. He might be able to play. But they lost Larry Ogunjobi. We know he's definitely not playing. He's done for the season. And their pressure rate drops from 35% to 26% when he's not on the field. If you compare those numbers and rank them as if that was their complete, defense for the season, that 35% would rank, I believe, second in the league, and 26% would rank 30th. That's how big that gap is when he drops. They turn from one of the best pressure teams in the league to one of the worst. So I think they're not going to get a ton of pressure here on Ryan Tannehill. The Tennessee rush offense hasn't fallen apart without Henry, but get any semblance that you can get of him is going to be huge. Even if it's 70%, 80%, having him on the field is going to be great. Tennessee's defense can get pressure without blitzing. We know that's how Burrow typically takes advantage of those blitzes, and the Raiders were able to hang in that game because they don't blitz a ton. Burrow didn't have like an explosive game, a ton of points there. They had to settle for some field goals in that game. Tennessee's defense can do that too. And that great rush defense that they have means a lot of third and longs, and they don't have to blitz, and they can bring some pressure with their guys they already have in their base package. Tennessee is 11-1 when they don't commit 3+ turnovers this season. All you got to do here is protect the ball in advance, and you have to figure that game plan is much easier with Henry now leading the way versus a beat-up Cincinnati defense. Tennessee's had 8 wins versus teams with winning records this year. That's the most all-time in 1 year for any team. It's beat 8 winning teams in 1 year. Tennessee's done that. We're underrating Tennessee at this point. We all love this Bills-Chiefs matchup. A lot of people think it's the de facto AFC championship game. Tennessee is a very good team. They're getting healthier now. Mike Vrabel is 8-0 straight up and against the spread all time with at least 8 days between games. And obviously he has that here with the bye week. They're just a perfect spot for Tennessee. So I'm hoping to get 3. I will lay the 3.5 if I have to, but I'm hoping the momentum builds for Burrow winning that game. Everybody's talking about Cincy, and we can pull Tennessee 3 here because I think they're the right side.
Man, everything you just said absolutely leans towards the Titans at the 3.5, which makes sense on why Mikey would take the Bengals up to 11. But Mikey, let me come back to you because so many people are going to be looking at the Derrick Henry coming back and saying, oh, that's what they need. Now, from a prop perspective, we normally don't talk props on the show, but he's going to be somebody people talk about. How careful should we be in using him this week, whether it's daily fantasy like you like to do, or putting him into any kind of a prop this week as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to monitor practice reports. We're going to have to monitor where the prop opens initially. It'll be very interesting to see how quickly they put the prop up. I'm checking now. Obviously, I don't expect anything anytime soon, but we're going to look and see. Even at his touchdown scoring prop. So he is minus 190 to score a touchdown. So obviously they're trying to get ahead of that. I was going to say, basically, I think he's pretty good bet to score a touchdown in the game. However, obviously the juice is super high there. But as far as the rushing number, I think it's a little too early in the week to know based on what I have heard. I would fully expect him to be in red zone. I would fully expect him to be in some of those first and second downs. I think that they probably limit him a little bit. Maybe it sounds weird to say, but maybe a little bit limited in the first half and maybe save him a little bit more for the second half. I don't know. We really need at least one more day to really listen to some of the stuff. Obviously, they could be bringing and holding things back in that sense as well. A lot of the talk, we talked about Akers. How effective would he be? He looks great, right? For the Rams.
He does.
It's so hit or miss. Like, we don't know with these guys coming off of these injuries that were both considered to be season-ending injuries. We didn't think we'd see either one of them initially again this season. So I'm going to be very cautious with it personally, just because I don't know what their plans are as far as using him. The run game was still relatively effective without him. So I would expect 1 or 2 of those backs, probably Foreman here, to at least spell him and do something closer to like we've seen the Kansas City Chiefs do when they're healthy with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams. I personally would be kind of stunned if it was 100% Derrick Henry like we saw before the injury.
Okay. I've got another question about this game. I'm going to back to you, but real quick, RJ, let me come to you because when you look at the scoring from Wild Card Weekend, 45 in the Bengals game, we had 64 in the Bills game, 46 in the Bucks, 40, and then 63. This total for this game is 46.5. Do you like either side, or would you lean? Because people love betting totals. We know that.
I would probably lean to the over because those Cincinnati injuries on the defensive side, I feel like Tennessee can score more points now that they're getting healthier with A.J. Brown in there along with Derrick Henry. I mean, this could really be a 30-point game for them. So I would lean to the over here, but I'm not like super thrilled with it because who knows when you get weather involved, and Cincy's offense may struggle against a defense that's been resting, and they may struggle to point points on themselves. So my lean would be the over if you want to throw it in something, but that's just a lean.
Okay. Mikey, let me come back to you. In the chat, somebody said, Mikey, what about Green Bay money line and the Titans money line instead of doing the Bengals at plus 11? I don't know what that would pay out, but probably back to that. I don't know what that would pay out, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I personally, as much as I like the Titans, and I make them -4. If you somehow got to 2.5, I'm easily betting them, just because of where it's at and the way these games score and the way I think the Titans will operate if they are leading. I think that the plus 11 personally is a better play for me, just because I do think that Burrow and the Bengals will be able to keep it within that number. That's just where I'm at in terms of looking at my simulations. If you love the Titans or for some reason don't like the Bengals, I would say that you should probably wait till it hits to 3 and just get a much better price by taking the Titans -3 is what I would do in that situation. But where I'm at now, it's Bengals plus 11.
All right. Well, we'll have plenty more on that coming up later in the week. Don't forget our Prop Spectacular every single Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, right here on our YouTube channel with Prop Stars and Uncle Dave. All right, let's move to game number 2, gentlemen. And that's Saturday, 8:15 Eastern time. And this is a team that we've been very, very bullish on for the last several weeks. And the way they won heading into the playoffs, I think, had a big statement in their minds on how they were going to go to Dallas. And they jump out to a quick lead, and then they just hung on at the end to win by 6 points. So now they have to travel for the second week in a row to Green Bay. The 49ers do. Packers laying 5.5, the total 47.5, and the Packers are the other number 1 seed like the Titans. So they had a bye week to get healthy, get fresh, have fresh legs. RJ, how do you see this one?
Yeah, there's reasons to like both sides in this game. Green Bay edged out San Francisco in the first meeting. It's a different San Francisco rushing attack here. They had Trey Sermon as the RB1 in that game. And this before Debo was getting a bunch of carries every game. He had 2 carries for no yards in that game. In that game, Green Bay went up 17-0. And then San Fran showed some tenacity battling back, took a fourth quarter lead, I believe with like 30-something seconds left. And then Green Bay was able to rally, as Aaron Rodgers was wont to do, and bring the team down, kick a field goal to win it with Crosby. Green Bay's defense is 30th in yards per rush allowed. So that San Fran offense could have success if they're able to do what they want to do and they're not in an early hole. And that's kind of the key to this game. Is Aaron Rodgers going to put his team up quickly, being fresh, coming off of that bye? And San Francisco has to play in a way that they don't like to play. Back in 2019, that wasn't the case. San Fran rushed for 285 yards, with just 69 passing yards in a playoff win over Green Bay. I mean, that would be ideal. If you can script this, that's what they're going to sign up for. And that one sent them to the Super Bowl there. Green Bay won the number 1 seed this year, though, with a week to spare, and they're getting healthy, especially on the offensive line. They had 3. Bakhtiari came back in week 18. I forgot that there's 18 weeks this season for the first time ever. You have Myers, I think, got healthy. They have more guys getting healthy. Then you got Jair Alexander, Preston Smith getting healthy on the defensive side. That's a lot of talent coming back for a Green Bay team that won the number 1 seed with a week to spare, like I said, and they're getting even better now. San Francisco's defense has played very well down the stretch. We'll have to monitor Bosa and Warner throughout the week. Warner seems like he's said he's going to play on Twitter. He indicated that, but players always think they're going to play. So we just got to see in practice how that works out and how Bosa works out, because the San Francisco defense needs them in this matchup. I think if San Francisco falls behind this time, it feels like Green Bay runs away with it and covers with ease. But now that it's down to 5.5, I'm on the Green Bay side. I'm going to roll with the better quarterback, probably the better coach. After what we saw this week, I wasn't impressed by what Shanahan did closing out that game. So I think Green Bay is probably the side you want to go with. Probably not going to get any better than 5.5. So this is probably where you play it.
I think that's great advice. Mikey, let me come over to you, because the Green Bay Packers have got to be haunted by years past. And also, let's keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is playing, and it's great to think about a quarterback playing until 44 like Tom Brady. Let's be honest, it never happens. So Aaron Rodgers' time is limited. How much pressure do you think the Packers are feeling again? Because I believe this is the 3rd year in a row that they've had the entire playoffs come through, and they have yet to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure there. A lot of it obviously on Aaron Rodgers himself. I do think he can handle it. I think he's set up in a pretty good spot. As far as matchups go, I think this is it's about as friendly as you can ask for in the NFC right now. This 49ers team is kind of playing with house money at this point, the way that they got in certain spots, got that win on the road here. I mean, obviously there's a lot of emotion building with them, frankly, going maybe a little farther than they should. But I think they're pressing their luck a little bit. I think that if you talk about home field advantage in the NFL, in the playoffs, outside of a blizzard in Buffalo, maybe, that I don't know that there's a greater home field advantage than Aaron Rodgers at home at Lambeau in this kind of condition. So we're talking these temperatures by the end of the game anyway, late in the game, we're going to have single-digit temperatures with the 20-mile-per-hour winds. We're looking at negative 20 wind chills in this game, 30% chance of snow. With a quarterback that's got the shoulder injury, got some other injuries here. We see the way that they use Debo and some of these other players so aggressively. Hanging on to the football might be tough for some of those players. I just give the edge on both sides to Green Bay. I make this game closer to -7. And I don't think I would jump on it now because I think it's more likely to head back to 6 to 6.5 than it is to go to 5 or 4.5, for example, in the spot. So I just think they're pressing their luck with Garoppolo. I don't think that they're going to have much success unless they can build an early lead in this game. Because if Aaron Rodgers marches down, scores a touchdown, Packers get some sort of a 10-point lead here, I personally think San Francisco is kind of toast in this spot, just because I do not think that they're built with Jimmy Garoppolo to come back from deficits. And again, it's just a tough place to go play.
It such is. And RJ, based off of what M Squared just said, we have no idea, because they're not telling us, just how serious this shoulder injury is. Yes, he finished the game, but we saw some of those throws at the end of the game weren't exactly great throws. So how concerned should we be that this number, as Mikey said, will go up based off of what information they give us as the week goes?
Definitely concerned. If he's missing practice, if he's limited, if he shows up as questionable, that line's going to be like, well, if this is a Trey Lance game in the playoffs, this line's going to be huge. Mm-hmm. So they're going to start shading it up to 7.5, just on the off chance that he doesn't play. And you figure, well, if he does play and he's and he's not 100%, I'm at least live with Green Bay at 7.5. So you kind of feel okay putting that bet in. So I don't think it's going to, that's going to shoot up. So you do want to get it in, I think, early. I'm talking about the home field advantage. Mikey was talking about, this is one of the better ones. Early in the season, we had a lot of lower home field advantages. I don't think it's worth 3 points anymore like it used to be. Mm-hmm. But when, capping for the playoffs, I adjust that up. It's just an electric crowd. In the home field advantage, you can't overstate how big that is. So typically in the season, I would have Green Bay at like a 3 point. They were one of the few teams that I put at 3 points. Most teams were around 2 points. Now in the divisional round of the playoffs, every team's at least 3 points to me at a home field, and I got Green Bay at 4. And when you put them at 4 points, I also have them at this line should be 7. So I agree with Mikey on that sense that 7 is a good line there for me. I think the home field advantage, you have to kind of adjust your thinking once you get to the playoffs, because it might not be worth 3, early in the season, but this is a whole different beast, playing in the playoffs on the road, and you have to add that number on. So you get 3 or 4 point home field advantages at this point.
Look at what happened in Buffalo. Look at what happened in Kansas City. Look at how the Bengals hang on. I think that crowd had a lot to do with it in Cincinnati. Every team that won this past weekend, all 6, also covered the spread. Mikey, let me come back to you. Butch in the chat says, M squared. With the weather, would it be better to get it under 3 in a teaser, or is it good enough at 5.5 where it is right now?
I mean, I've elected to use them in a teaser or a parlay with them on the money line. Basically the same thing at this point. You're taking plus a 0.5 point in a teaser. I personally, I like it at 5.5. It didn't quite make the full play. Just waiting out some news on the Garoppolo situation, because I'm a little suspicious with the line movement to 5.5. I'm expecting it to go the other way to 6.5, where it should close. We'll see later in the. If you want to jump on it again, I make them 7. I just elected to use them on the money line in mine. But I personally, I still feel relatively good about -5.5.
All right. Very, very good. All right. So that is our second game. Again, 8:15 Eastern time. Don't forget, we'll have plenty of props from this game Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time right here on our YouTube channel. But we're part of a much bigger family here at SportsLine, associated with CBS, and we're all for it, but also associated with Showtime. And they've got an incredible show called Ray Donovan. Check it out.
Hello.
I tell you something I did.
Ray?
Something bad. It runs downhill. Father to son, father to daughter.
He's gonna kill Mickey.
It has to end.
You know it's a good show when you go from being a show to a movie. Check out Ray Donovan, the movie, on Showtime. All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching our divisional round NFL Mega Preview here at the Early Edge, powered as always by the almighty SportsLine. Time to shift our focus to Sunday. And I love it now that the NFL several years ago decided to move the Sunday game, guys, to 3 and to 6:30. It's just a better atmosphere getting one of these games under the lights. So, game number 1 on Sunday. And Mikey, I'm coming to you. Rams at the Bucks. Bucks laying 3, the total 48.5. The Rams were dominant last night against the Cardinals. But am I making more of a deal of the fact that they had to play on Monday than I should be? One less day to prepare for the first time ever in the playoffs. Talk to me.
I mean, yeah, the day is important. It's certainly not insignificant. It's not something totally unusual in the sense that they've done it before. Every team essentially has to go through it at some point in the season. So from that aspect, I think it's fine. I also think that because of the way that they won last night, they didn't have to necessarily keep the foot on the pedal the entire way. I think that helps a little bit. They were likely, I would have to go look at some of the snap counts to be 100% sure on it, but I think they gave a few players a few additional snaps off late in that game. So I don't think it's a massive deal, but as far as where the game is, this one is like, I think the line is basically correct. Like, I think you have to almost make this a pick 'em, which is basically what this is saying. We home field advantage becomes worth about 3 points in the playoffs. And that's what you're seeing here for the home team. You put these teams on a neutral field and it's a pick 'em, and we might have to be giving Tom more credit than he deserves, even, as much as I can say that. I'm very worried about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how beat up they are personally and how healthy this Rams team is coming into this game. I think the Rams team is definitely in good shape coming into it. So I make the Buccaneers minus 2.7 in the simulations. Not enough to get to a play on either side. It's going to be very interesting to see if we see any movement at all on this one, if we go one way or the other to 3.5 or 2.5, at which point it might create a little bit of a value to go play it. But as of right now, I can't really comfortably make the case there unless you just want to play into the fact that you think the Bucs are beat up and they're overvalued a little bit because they have Tom Brady and they're playing at home.
It's interesting, that perspective. And RJ, as we come to you, I think if you're a Rams fan and you look at the way they played last night and that defense, dynamic. Now, Kyler was terrible. We know that. But their defense was dynamic. And Matthew Stafford really looked like he was trying to take care of the football. And when they do that, this is a very, very dangerous team. What do you make of this number?
Yeah, and Stafford did a great job taking care of the football, but they didn't have him do hardly anything. I think he had, 17 attempts or something like that. Run game was just incredible, and that's because Arizona's terrible against the run. That's not what you're going to get here with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, it was more reputation than statistics for much of the year, 14th in yards per carry, those type of numbers. And then they showed up against a team that's been able to run on everyone in Philly and just shut them down. I think that's kind of what you're going to see here. So it's going to be on Stafford to do what he needs to do to win this game. I don't think the running game is going to get it done for him. And we've seen that's been problematic this year with those pick sixes 8 interceptions on his side of the field. I think Tampa can get those turnovers. In the first meeting where the Rams kind of ran away with that one, Cockrell and Delaney played 80% of the defensive snaps at cornerback in that game. They're special teamers now. They don't hardly play on defense at all. So the Buccaneers are able to get healthy in the secondary. I think they're going to be able to handle this Rams receiving core and Matthew Stafford a little better. You might want to wait for Sean Murphy-Bunting, see if he'll be back. He was limited last week, wasn't able to make it back. I think there's a better chance he comes back this week, obviously, if he's able to practice in limited fashion last week. You probably think you'll see him in this game. I think that Rams pass rush is obviously a problem for a banged up Tampa Bay offensive line. But if any quarterback can handle the pass rush, it's Brady. I mean, that's kind of the equalizer there. He'll move guys around. He'll shift protections around. He'll get rid of the ball when he needs to get rid of the ball. This isn't like playing Kyler Murray. This isn't playing like anybody else in the league. This guy has more playoff experience than anyone in history. So when you look at this line, it's such a small number. Which of these quarterbacks is more likely to make a dumb game-changing mistake in this game? I think it's got to be Matthew Stafford. So yes. I'm looking at Tampa. It looks like you talked about, will this line move? That excitement of seeing the Rams on Monday has made the juice in the game move. You know, it opened at 3. It's pushing toward the Rams. It's at minus 120 on the Rams now. It feels like it wants to tip to 2.5. And if it does, I'm going to be looking to play Tampa at 2.5 and trust that the better quarterback comes out on top in this game.
Okay. Let's talk weapons for a second. And Mikey, let me come back to you, because if we play into what we saw last night, OBJ is the guy we need to start looking at, because Cooper Kupp fell well short of his numbers last night, 5 for 67. His numbers were like 8 for 107, so he didn't come close to that. OBJ was great. Then on the other side, we got Mike Evans and Gronk, and they didn't cover him, and Tom Brady found them early and often. What do you make of the weapon use this week?
Yeah, it's super interesting. I do want to talk about Odell Beckham. We've given him a lot of crap over the last couple years of his career. I honestly will admit I'm someone who has too. He was terrible in some of those situations. He has been very good in this offense. And, you know, I've got to say it probably helps playing on a team that is winning. You know, offense is in better position a lot of the time. You've got Cooper Kupp out there drawing a ton of attention. You've got great running backs. So I think it's obviously helped him a lot, but he has been good. I can't deny that. And he is a legitimate weapon for them. Van Jefferson back to being healthy again. Higbee has been great, but it's really about Cam Akers. Having both Akers and Michelle here, I think it's legitimate weapons. As far as the other side of the ball, Tom Brady needs a healthy Leonard Fournette, in my opinion, in this matchup. Leonard Fournette is good enough on the ground and catching passes out of the backfield. Obviously, we saw it out of Gio Bernard. Great addition to have him back as well. But if he needs to have Leonard Fournette and Bernard both in there, who, again, both can catch passes. Fournette can spell them and get them 3 to 4 yards. Just put them in better positions, which they're going to need to be against this Rams pass rush. So I'm very excited for the game. I still think the weapons are a little better on the Rams side. Obviously, the great equalizer is the drastic difference in the two quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a really, really, really good game. But I do think that even though Matthew Stafford is the one throwing the football, I think the Rams have a lot more big play ability in them, and I think that could be the difference in this one.
Very, very interesting. Is there a name or a player, RJ, that the public, because you are always so good at seeing, just like the Cardinals aren't good at running, we knew what their completion and attempts prop was going to be, under. Is there a player that you're looking at in this matchup that maybe the rest of the world is not looking at that could potentially have a big game that we could lean into?
Well, like I said, I think those corners will have some success against the Rams receivers. So you were seeing Beckham make these big plays. We know what Kupp can do. So maybe Higbee comes in as a secondary weapon and he gets a little more receiving, juice than people are used to, because he's not having these big days. He's not a big name tight end like the guy on the other side. So he might be a guy that comes in, sneaks through for a touchdown, sneaks through for a 60-yard game when we're not expecting it, because Beckham is just having issues, with the coverage, and they're doubling up on Kupp, and all of a sudden you got to go to guys like Higbee. So that would be the guy I'd look to on the offensive side of the ball that might have a little bit more of a sneaky, good performance that we're not expecting.
All right. Very, very good. All right. I think we will leave it right there. Bucks minus the 3. Can you guys still hear me? I think I hit it. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, good. I almost pulled a Jay Smooth on myself. So the Bucks are minus 3, and great analysis by you guys. All right. Now this is the game, and I know Mikey is, and RJ, you've got to be, all three of us are highly invested in the final game of the weekend. Does it get any better than this? Bills Chiefs, Arrowhead, 6:30 Eastern time, Sunday night. Bills just took apart the Pats in historic fashion. 7 touchdown drives, winning 47-17. The Chiefs blow out the Steelers, 42-21. They both go north of 40. Travis Kelce throwing a touchdown pass in the process. Boys, this is big-time football. RJ, I'm going to let you start. The number is the Chiefs -2. The total is 54.5. Both of you, this is your only straight best bet so far this week, the Chiefs -2. Talk to me, RJ.
Yeah, I had to get it on the Chiefs -2. I think you have to make them 3 points in this game at home, considering what we know about home field, considering that the Buffalo offense, as good as they looked, and they look when they're playing like that last week, they can beat anyone. They could win the Super Bowl if they play like that for 3 more weeks. But that's not what we've seen. They haven't put together 4 weeks like that this season. Every time they have a good game, then they lose 6-9 against the Jaguars. You know, this is what we came to expect from them. So I think of these two, Buffalo's offense looked better than the Kansas City offense because of how they played that first quarter, and it was looking ugly. It was like, are the Steelers really going to gut out a defensive win here against the Chiefs and have one of those ugly offensive games like I think Baltimore had against Tennessee a few years back? And it kind of started to feel like that. And then Kansas City showed up and showed that they should be the Super Bowl favorites out of the AFC. Buffalo did dominate that first game against Kansas City. You'll look to that game and you'll say, Buffalo's got this. They go to Kansas City, they win. They know that they can hang in this game. But they're unlikely to go +4 in turnover rate again with this Kansas City offense. The Buffalo rushing attack becoming a thing, and they have to keep it up. That's how you beat this team. 31st ranked defense in yards per rush. So you want to run the ball, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, keep your offense on the field. A little bit less of Josh Allen slinging the ball all over the place is probably the best idea here for the Bills. But this is the worst matchup they're going to have for not having Tre'Davious White. You know, they've been able to survive it with the teams that they've played. This is where you need him against Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes and all these guys. So this feels like the Bucs game where they lost him, or before the win game, I think, against the New England. Then they played the Bucs. They gave up 488 yards. They lost that one in overtime. They were getting blown out in that game. They had to come back and send it into overtime.
That's right.
So it just feels like that could be this game. And don't sleep on the Chiefs defense. I know the Bills offense was unstoppable last week, but the Chiefs defense in home games since adding Melvin Ingram, they gave up 7 points to the Packers. That was the Jordan Love game. Can throw that out. Gave them 9 points to the Cowboys, 9 points to the Raiders, 10 points to the Steelers, a cheap 21 last week with a fumble 6 from Watt. And then, 2 late touchdowns on I believe the Steelers had 250 yards of offense, something like that. 229 of them came in those last 3 drives. They did absolutely nothing until those last 3 drives. So that defense shows up against the Bills, considering they've been so inconsistent on offense in Buffalo. Chiefs could run away with this game. I don't think that's out of the question. So I think with that on the table, I'm hoping it's a shootout, hoping it's competitive, hoping my Bills pull it out. But I think Chiefs win this game ultimately at home.
Well, I got to tell you this. If there's one team that's left in the playoffs that can handle the cold, that can handle the loud noise, that can handle all that, it would be these Buffalo Bills. Mikey, let me come to you. Last week, Chiefs, very, very, very slow start. Then it only took a little over a quarter of game time to score 35 points and blow that thing wide open. Do you feel like that start was maybe a little bit of nerves? And then they realized, wait a second, we're the Kansas City Chiefs. And how much do you think that 15 minutes could help them this week against the Bills?
Oh, I think it helps a ton. Falling down 7-0 to the Steelers like that at home, massive wake-up call for them. I think it was great. And I got to jump in quickly and say I love what RJ is doing here. This is the classic emotional free roll for him. He can bet the Kansas City Chiefs. If he's right, he makes money. He looks like a genius. If he's wrong, his favorite team wins, and he's celebrating anyway. So I respect the emotional free roll. But no, I really do love that he's on that side. So I make the Kansas City Chiefs minus 1.2 points better on a neutral field. When you make them minus 1.2 points better on a neutral field at home, you can. I made it a flat 3 on what the home field advantage is worth, because I do believe at Arrowhead in the playoffs, it is a true home field advantage too. It's one of probably the top 5 in the NFL. So I make it a full 3 points. That makes them minus 4.2. You get this number at 2, gets you through some really key numbers, obviously being 3, 3.5, 4. I like this spot a lot. So give me Kansas City here. Like RJ mentioned, Tre'Davious White's going to be sorely missed, in my opinion, in this matchup. It is, we talk about Tyreek Hill all the time, but it's DeMarcus Robinson is a threat. Byron Pringle is a threat. Like these guys out there, this team is very, very fast. Patrick Mahomes is very good. We all obviously already know that, but I think that they're really going to struggle. You mentioned it, but I want to look at the teams that Buffalo has really played without White. The only one that they did that was a legitimate quarterback was Tom Brady, and they gave up 33 points, got crushed basically, right? Other than that, they played the Patriots led by Mac Jones, who can't really throw the football. They played the Jets. They played the Falcons. They played the Carolina Panthers with the combination of Sam Darnold and Cam Newton. They haven't seen an offense with a legitimate quarterback. And I would say you can argue that Tom Brady is obviously legitimate. He really is. But they haven't seen one with a quarterback like Mahomes who can extend plays like we've seen him do a number of times. That's where I think they're going to get in trouble. When Mahomes is on the move and they're extending longer plays, that's where Kansas City is going to sting them. That's where there's going to be a big play that puts them in really good field position or puts 6 points on the board. So for me, it's Chiefs or nothing here. The Bills are great. Like you said, they can handle the crowd noise still. They can handle the cold weather. Those things aren't going to be much of a factor, but I think the Chiefs look good. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill looked fine again in this last game. I see him doing flips in the end zone after scoring. It doesn't seem to be a problem at all with the heel injury this week. I think the Chiefs, you could say the same thing about the Bills offense, but I think the Chiefs on both sides of the ball are coming into this game hitting on all cylinders.
When you talk about all cylinders, RJ, and you look at the one touchdown that Kelce scored, I think is huge for Travis Kelce, because we saw him for 4 or 5 weeks not be used very much, and obviously defenses were honing in on him. But that touchdown down the sidelines for 40 or 50 yards, that was part of a over 100-yard night for Travis Kelce. How big of a deal to the Chiefs is the fact that Kelce himself got back into a Kelce-like performance?
Right. Well, if you're the Chiefs, I don't think you're sweating his usage in the regular season, because when you're the Chiefs, the season doesn't start until January anyway. So it's not like, I don't think anybody was fretting that he doesn't get, he didn't get involved. And then you see when the playoffs start, he has a massive game. So everything's fine on the Kelce front. I don't think anybody was panicking. It sure is good to see it, but he's going to show up in January anyway. And you're going to have even if he had 4 or 5 20-yard weeks in a row, if you're Buffalo coming into this game, you got a game plan around Travis Kelce, because how good he is at his ceiling. So, if he's not putting the numbers up, he's still going to be a major factor in this game that defenses have to scheme around. So I think it's good for him to get going, but I don't think it was a concern either way.
You used the word number. Mikey, the number for the total is 54.5. The easy thing to do would be say, they both scored over 40. It's going to sail to the over. But hold the phone. What do you think?
Look, I think it's efficient for the most part. I have it at 54 myself, 53.9. It's the slightest of leans on the under. It comes down to how good do you think Kansas City's defense really is? And we're going to obviously find out in these spots. But the thing I do want to point to, and I'm a little shocked that the model was slightly leaning under, frankly, just for what you said. And the eye test definitely tells you these teams put up points. It's really Kansas City's ability. We've seen it out of the Bills a few times, but really out of Kansas City, their ability to put together these 8-minute drives. They just put these long drives together where they march down the field. I expect a lot of that from Kansas City here. And when you do things like that, it really does shorten the game. So when we're talking from an efficiency standpoint, if either one of these defenses finds some red zone efficiency and drives end in field goals, we talk about it when we see big totals in college games, right? You mostly need perfect game scripts to be able to get over some of the bigger numbers. And to me, this feels like one of those games just because of the way Kansas City puts together some of those really long sustained drives that take up half a quarter. I mean, they routinely do it pretty much once a game where they steal half a quarter on one drive.
That's why I thought when the Steelers scored, I thought our first half bet was dead, because of those long drives. And there was only 7 minutes left in the second quarter. They ended up scoring 3 times in those final 7 minutes to cover. But that's a great, great point. RJ, your thoughts on the over?
Yeah, everybody's going to want to bet the over in this game. You see it tick down a little bit from 55 to get to 54.5. I think if you think this game is going over, you should probably want to be on the Bills, because that means that their offense is solving this Kansas City defense that has been played so well at home, and they are not having as many issues with the crowd noise, all those factors we said. If this game, I don't think the Bills are winning a 23-20 type of game in this. I think that if the Bills win, it's a shootout, 35-32, 38-35, and this game's going over. So I wouldn't mind parlaying the Bills money line with the over if I think that the over is going to hit, and then looking to play the Chiefs under if if you're on the Chiefs side like Mikey and I are, because he said his model is a little bit leaning toward the under. I think there are situations there where the Buffalo offense doesn't show up, has one of those ugly games, and this game sits well under with the Chiefs winning, a 34-10 type of game that everybody's shocked that the Bills played so poorly on offense 1 week after what they did to the New England. So I think those are kind of the situations you're looking for: a Chiefs under parlay or a Bills over parlay.
I also think that we have to remember that when you get to certain parts of the season, like here in the playoffs, that it's all about just winning and moving on. We saw that with some games, and other teams feel like they need to keep scoring and scoring and scoring. So we'll find out what that is. Also, this number is so small that you don't have to worry about a late door cover, all those types of things to cover. Both teams will be in it. So sometimes for me as a novice bettor, unlike you guys, that makes my decision on whether or not I bet the total or whether or not I bet a side is where the number's at. It's such a small number. All right. What a great breakdown so far of these 4 games. Do not forget, we'll be here Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time for our prop special, and then we'll have a live stream before every single playoff game on Saturday and Sunday because we are here for you. I like to end every single show. Let my guys and ladies tell you exactly what they're looking forward to this week. So as we put up our best bets, and you can take a look at them, RJ, what are you most looking forward to this week in these playoffs?
Well, it's got to be Bills Chiefs. It's the marquee matchup on there. It's our teams. It's we want to advance. We figure that probably if we win this game, even playing the Titans at home, one of these teams might be favored if they come out and have a good game on Sunday. They might be favored on the road against a Tennessee team that people don't really believe in, because I think these are the 2 favorites here. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also interested to see if you go to Caesar's website, you look at you can bet the early line on the Super Bowl. Right now it's NFC -1. I think that's really taking into account what if the Packers make it? They're probably going to be favored in that game. I don't know. I mean, if it's Buffalo, or if Buffalo makes it, they've had 3 straight weeks where they're playing at their peak, and they're going to look unstoppable. If the Chiefs make it, they're the Chiefs. They have all the momentum in the world and all the playoff experience in the world. So I think I might take either of those teams at +100 on the money line in that game. And so if I might look to play that now. I know people might not want to invest their money for 3 weeks and just have it sitting there, but that seems like a really suspect line to me for that AFC versus NFC Super Bowl matchup, being NFC -1 right now.
That's always such a hard thing when you're betting futures, to just have your money sitting there for 3 straight weeks. Mikey, what angle are you looking at?
I mean, it's definitely this Chiefs game, but we all know that. So I'll talk about the Titans. I'm very interested to see 2 things in that one. One, what does Derrick Henry look like? How much do they use him? And then Joe Burrow and the Bengals, can they keep their magical season alive? I've got futures tickets on both the Chiefs and the Titans to win the AFC. So I'm for the Yahtzee scenario of teams meeting in the AFC title game. Absolute free roll for me. Would love that. But I'm very interested to see Derrick Henry, and then what can Joe Burrow do on the road in a playoff game here.
And I am most interested in something that we don't like to talk about because it brings up, well, this has to happen for that to happen. The fight for that 2 seed and how important it was for the Chiefs to get the 2 seed. And the Bengals are a live dog. If they win on Saturday, guess what? The winner of that Buffalo Chiefs game, they will host the AFC Championship. That's a big, big deal because low-key, I think Cincinnati wins on Saturday. I do. But that's going to be a big deal if they do. Boy, does that add some extra spice to that game on Sunday night in Kansas City. No doubt about that. Boys, great job as always. There's only one thing now left to do, and you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets, especially the Chiefs, straight to the pay window. For my crew, RJ White, M Squared, and of course, AB on the 1s and the 2s. I am the coach. We're here every single day at 10 a.m. sharp. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss one single second. On Wednesday, we'll have our MMA preview episode. And then on Thursday, we have a brand new soccer capper that will come on with Martin W. Green. You'll get to meet him. We call him Buckets. All right? Tell all your friends. The only sports betting brand you even need to worry about is right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.